As of the time of my writing this, the Nightmind channel stands at 27,676 subscribers. This is meant to be a 25,000 subscriber milestone video, and already we've passed that by the time it was made. It's partly my fault for all the time taken to manage this video, but it's still incredible to observe. Anyone who looks at the About tab for Nightmind will see that this channel was technically created on April 10th of last year, but I consider Nightmind's true date of birth to be the day of the very first upload, July 19th. It hasn't even been a full year yet. It's been only about 10 months. 10 months, and we've already hit 25,000 subscribers. I can't even express how incredible this is. Thank you, everyone, so much for this milestone. By this time, when I first began uploading, I thought I'd only be just getting close to maybe 1,000 subscribers if I was lucky. I thought it would take me at least a year to hit that mark, but the support and kindness you've shown me blew away all expectations. In my life so far, I haven't had an endeavor that has mattered as much as this. This is the first amount of true success I've ever felt, and it's all thanks to you, my community and viewers. My supporters, you make Nightmind succeed and give me the drive to keep going and bringing you more content more often at a higher rate of quality. And even more importantly than that, you are breathing life into new creators with projects they were brave enough to put out. When I finished covering the Slenderverse, my greatest fear was that no matter what I did, I wouldn't be able to bring you guys content that was worth your time, and the channel would fail. I knew what I wanted to do with my videos, and what I wanted was a very dangerous direction to anyone who knows how YouTube works. I wanted to cover unexplored material, bring up names that people didn't recognize, present things that nobody searches for or feels the need to click on by brand recognition. I didn't want to just keep covering names that people know. If I did that, how would we ever get anything new to celebrate that someone out there was brave enough to make? How would anybody else grow? And yet, this is YouTube. Name recognition means your video gets attention. It means your effort wasn't in vain because you know that there's going to be clicks on the video. I wanted to do the opposite of the established formula. Take unknown or barely known material and put it under the spotlight. It's what I knew I needed to do as a person, and yet the fear of failing came with it. But it turns out I didn't need to even be concerned. You guys have shown more love for the things I've been bringing you than I ever anticipated, and I'm not sure anyone else who knows YouTube like a daily user does would actually believe what's happening. Night Vision has been my personal crown jewel in the idea belt, something to honor brand new, undiscovered, awesome creations, and give them as big of a boost in audience and encouragement as I could. The greatest possible outcome of the full channel unveiling this year actually happened. You guys embraced Night Vision. You showed complete support, love, and attention for the series that I brought you. 17,000 views on a video for a web series that no one had even heard of. Do you know how insane that is? The views for the videos on Who's channel went from double digits to multiple thousands. Do you even realize how incredible and powerful that actually is? You're not just supporting me when you do that. You guys are taking the feeling I had when I first hit 1,000 subscribers within just 1 month of launching a channel and giving it to others. You're making that happen again and again for people who not only have been working longer and harder than me while getting barely any attention, but doing it all for completely original material. The most terrifying concept for anyone who wants to succeed as a creator is to go out there and put months of their life into original work. You don't know if it will succeed, and you know that if it does, it's going to be a giant uphill battle in the rain to even get halfway up the mountain to success. It's not fun to have so much anxiety over creating this big, huge thing that you put so much love and effort into, sending it out into the world, and then receiving nothing in response. I made Nightmind in order to give people who do that a response and get them up the hill as fast as possible. I wanted others who were doing this to feel how you guys made me feel when Nightmind showed it could succeed for the first time. And even though we're on YouTube, and I'm breaking all the rules by trying this, it's actually working. You guys made it happen, and you're still making it happen. And that's the greatest gift my subscribers have given to me. Original material on YouTube is a rare breed, an endangered species practically. To go out there and try and revive it and give it strength the way that we're doing. And to actually be succeeding at that, it flies in the face of everything that we've come to know from this site. And it's wonderful. This even goes beyond the two-man crews working in their backyards to make the next Marble Hornets without any Slenderman or special effects knowledge. If you guys only knew how much of an impact you've had on other creators trying to make it who actually do have professional contacts and are still fighting the uphill battle, oh my god. Well, let's just say mainstream media is beginning to listen to what people are actually responding to online, and it's beautiful. You've done so much more good than you realize. I can't exactly say some things, but you've done more good than you realize. I know it's ironic for a guy who runs a horror and dark media channel to have an outlook and mission statement like this. It's just how I've always been. I can't thank you guys enough for doing this. You're not just helping and supporting me. You're lifting up people who keep working while wondering if they're ever going to even be paid attention to, if what they're trying to do will be in vain. You are giving them validation that their work, their hard work, their effort, their long hours with a camera and a notepad are worth something. I am so incredibly grateful. You've been here since the Big Name Slenderman series, and even after we finished those, you stuck around and supported something that goes against the very nature of YouTube. You're giving people hope and support in ways they never expected they would or could get. I love you guys. And just like that, I realized that I've already sort of answered a good few questions that I got for the celebration Q&A. I'm sorry. I couldn't help it once I got started. It means too much to me. But yes, for this milestone, I decided to copy my friend Cranbearsher with his great tradition of making comment and question response videos. I asked our community on Twitter and Tumblr what they'd like to know, and you delivered. Let's see if we can do a little bit of Nightmind explained in the dark this evening. Let's start off with a question I get regularly, and one I received quite a few copies of for this video. What's with all the cat imagery? Well, you see, it's very simple. My form is to be dictated by the community, as Nightmind is, while still something I host and produce, a product of its supporters who make it succeed and live. I decided long ago that I am who you've chosen me to be when it comes to physical representation. You could always imagine a pair of sentient floating initials, but that's not exactly practical, so I'm glad it turned out how it's now come to be. All the way back in October, the most appropriate time for my form to be chosen, I was asked what I would describe my species as. I said, organic. Shortly after this, I was asked what my favorite color is, to which I answered, pumpkin orange, which is true. That's always been my first favorite. Orange and black together, actually. Are any of you surprised? Just after this, someone said, Nick Nocturne confirmed for pumpkin-based life form. Me, thinking of my oldest favorite Halloween film, Hocus Pocus at the time, remembered how much I liked Thackeray Binks as a character in that film, so I said, I'm actually an 18-year-old man from the 1600s cursed into the body of a black cat by 3 witches while saving my sister, who was about to be devoured for her youth. Also, I can use computers. Mainly, I just wanted to see who on Tumblr would actually remember Hocus Pocus and Thackeray Binks. I wasn't even being serious with my answer. On October 11th, a follower on Twitter, Spoopney, produced the very first piece of Nick Nocturne art depicting yours truly as a 4-eyed intelligent cat. A black cat, of course, with a slight purple hue as I was working on Everyman Hybrid at the time. The Vampire Knight on Tumblr submitted a sketch that very same day affirming the image, and the very next day, Azure Shark, also known as Fox, submitted this awesome piece, marking me as a humanoid in figure with 4 eyes and 4 arms. From there, I've received an incredible amount of beautiful art of my community-chosen form, shifting between house cat size and stature to standing upright with 2 arms, 4 eyes, 3 eyes, sometimes in a nice purple sweater, other times borrowing Slenderman's idea of using tentacles instead of going through the labor of fully forming an arm. You could say I'm pretty flexible in my design, but I determined when entering this endeavor and assuming the Nocturne moniker that the community would decide my form. As you have chosen, so I shall be. I can assume a human form when I need to in order to walk around in the world and do boring people things, but at all other times, I'm good playing with my feline form to suit my needs. House cat size, person size, 4 arms, 2 arms, tentacles. Whatever works for the moment, but always a black cat with a couple of extra eyes to see things that others miss. I'm always so grateful to receive art and still can't believe that there's so much beautiful work I've been given. You guys are really awesome, and I thank you for it. Here's another question I received quite a few copies of. What inspired you to get into the horror, mystery, and darkness field? That's a bit of a tough one because I've traced my memory quite a few times to find an answer, and I still don't think I can pinpoint a single incident or moment that inspired it. What I can tell you is that I've always had an odd fascination with the otherworldly, be it paranormal or otherwise. As a child, if I were, say, ever to have pretended to be a human child a while ago before getting bored of that act, I read a lot of goosebumps and scary stories to tell in the dark. There was always something appealing about getting into something that looked so dangerous and yet so contained. A volume of forbidden knowledge that you can back away from when the fear gets too real, but re-enter at any time. And meanwhile, you have control over the process as you move from one challenge to another, pushing yourself to confront and explore each new strange circumstance, but knowing that you still have control and can't actually, be killed by a monster or damned to live as a sentient statue for all time. It may also have just been a progression of exploring things that aren't normal. Why not explore? Why not discover? Why not have stories that no one else could possibly experience or fully understand? Why settle for the same bland, mundane life of predetermined and taught experiences as everyone else? Why be just another number? There's no imagination there, no discovery or thrill. You can get away from the ordinary and expected with a good amount of media, but there's a certain attraction when it comes to dark, psychological, or horrifying things. The abstract and forbidden is appealing in a way that can't quite be put into words. What would you say are your favorite and least favorite horror films? You can name specific movies or be more general if you like. Another question that goes kind of along these lines would be, what's your biggest disappointment for horror? Like something you wish was good or at least better than it is? Well, gee, if I had to pick a hated horror movie that absolutely should have been better than it was, I wonder what I would pick. I think it would be a terrible excuse for a film that had an awesome opportunity to make the transition of web series to professionally produced media easier for us all, but completely fucked it all up. Go to hell, always watching. Oh, and the forest can eat it too. As for things that I love, I think there are a few films I can give some serious recommendations of love to. Trick or Treat by Michael Dougherty, which is valuable on every level. Poltergeist, the original film, which was an incredible movie altogether while also pulling off some awesome tricks. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is the greatest, raw, physical, coming-after-you horror film I have ever seen. It Follows, which was an awesome example of blending psychological horror with an ever-present monster you don't understand. And The Babadook, which does much of the same thing except for not understanding the monster, as The Babadook did a fantastic job of presenting a horror film with an artistic concept and visual storytelling. Oh, and we'll throw The Omen in there too, because that was a pretty great movie as well in several aspects. 5 years ago, would you have imagined being as involved in the horror community as now? Also, any predictions you have 2 years in the future? How about 5? I definitely did not see this coming 5 years ago. I really didn't. I didn't ever anticipate being as deeply engaged with dark media as I am now, although I knew for a while that I would eventually have a long-term creative engagement with it, whether it would have taken the form of a novel, film, or otherwise. In 2 years, I predict that I'll have finally managed to provide you guys with some Nightmind original productions, which has been part of the plan all along, and I sincerely hope to finally be doing this for a living and creating so many things for the channel and with others. In 5 years, I have no idea what'll happen. Hopefully, I'll have been able to supply others with the kind of success I hope to have in 2 years, and help them to become professional creators who live off of their work. Would you mind reading some old fiction of yours? Absolutely yes, I would definitely mind. I'm sorry, but it's been so long, and anything a writer made the day before is automatically garbage to them the next moment that they think about it. Imagine how I'd look at things from just a few years ago. I'm also afraid that most of it has nothing to do with dark media. There is one project which, like a good horror villain, is still not actually dead and never truly will be. I don't know if it's going to resurface and what form it will take if it does, but I remember how addicted I was to writing that story and seeing it made into a visual, engaging format. Maybe someday. As for future writing, maybe I'll make something that can be shared. Once a writer, always a writer. The need to tell stories and dive into new worlds never leaves you, even if you do leave it for a while. If you could pick one horror film to represent high school, college, or adult life, what would it be and why? Well, naturally, they would all be documentaries. But really, I haven't seen a good horror movie yet that takes place in a school setting. High school, college, Hollywood, and movies in general have such a horribly overblown, misguided, and totally ridiculous notion of the reality of such places that nearly all attempts to make films in their settings fail. I haven't seen a high school or college-based film yet that's been done right. I think we'll get a wonderfully cynical, bitter, sardonic film goring all those movies before we ever get a realistic take. Have you ever had any other creative or content-making endeavors before Nightmind? If so, what were they? That's confidential, but the answer is yes. There have been novels, there have been short plays, there have been concepts and ideas I've written down for future development in some form. There are some other things as well. I've done pretty much everything except for music, and even then, there's room in my future to investigate that beyond the basic knowledge that I have. What was your very first ARG? That was actually the Cloverfield game. I was heavily involved in that and had been since I first saw the trailer for the film. December of 2007 was quite a month to be glued to the computer. J.J. Abrams really made sure his creative team spoiled us when it came to the scope and the sheer depth of that game. I remember being so excited and so invested. It was the most creative, inventive, and just plain coolest thing I'd ever seen. Using the internet and several forms of media to tell a multi-layered story while having the reader solve it as a mystery to gain progress in that story? That was nuts! It opened my eyes to the power that an ordinary person could have trying something like that on their own, and that stories didn't have to stay confined in traditional formats anymore. Do you think a younger person will start making things of this interest, like Slenderverse or something even more? Here is the recent case of a 14-year-old boy who was offered $30 million by a national healthcare company this month for his invention, a first aid kit vending machine. He turned them down because he's already profiting. Six Flags has already purchased 100 of the devices for about $5,500 each. This is just the most recent story I've seen over the years where youth has proven to be no real barrier to genius. Your only true limit is your own willpower. Besides the time commitment, what is usually the most difficult part of your video making process? Audio, audio, audio. I am still not entirely happy with my vocal performance. I can do better, and I know it, and I fight myself for it constantly. I need legitimate professional coaching, I definitely know that. Recording takes almost approximately twice as long as any length of audio you hear from me in a video. I spend a lot of time redoing takes and really trying to deliver things right, which can be very difficult when I'm having a bad voice day or feel low on energy. Kinda like right now. You may have noticed that my voice is slightly shot. A tip to anybody who does voice stuff. Be very, very careful about damaging your voice the day before recording by laughing too hard at silly, silly things. You will mess up your throat. But beyond doing what I can to make sure narration works while recording, treating the audio to remove background hum, ambient noise, and make sure all my volume levels are balanced is very time-consuming and a highly tedious process. In order to get into it, I'll introduce this other question. What is that very subtle voice effect? The truth is that there is no voice effect. This is it. This is my voice. What you're hearing now is what you get when I don't try to fix the poor effects of the microphone input. It's a little bit more shaky and unbalanced, and there's a good chance that you can hear the background buzz that comes from using this microphone. Contrary to belief, there's not a program in existence that can alter a person's voice in a way that actually increases their quality or style. You can't make data out of nothing and graft it to the pre-existing input, which is why Auto-Tune doesn't actually fix any rapper's voice to make them automatically a competent singer. What does go on with my audio, however, lies in the little technical, tedious things. I use a USB microphone. It gets the job done, and it's a strong little mic, but it's still a USB interface, which means I get microphone feedback in the background, a little bit of extra hiss on my sharp notes, and a lower intake of frequency and levels, meaning a lot of it comes in with bad balancing. So what I have to do is work with my program to pick up the slack from not using a more professional-grade microphone to try and get things back to the way my voice came in during recording. I have a friend who has studied audio and does audio engineering who has made it very clear he does not approve of my choice of a USB microphone over actual equipment. I'm going to have to pick up some pointers from him. I was also very bad at understanding audio when I first began doing this, and I'm not going to allow it to happen again. It still pains me incredibly to listen to myself during the Marble Hornet series, and I am so sorry for all of the audio ranging from Marble Hornets to Alan Tutorial. My mistake. If given the proper care and treatment, is there any web series you'd like to see developed into a feature film? I've always thought that there's a movie inside Everyman Hybrid. There is so much there that lends itself to becoming a film and being an awesome experience. What was the last thing that honestly made you feel inspired to create, whatever medium it is? This is probably going to be a surprise to people, but 7 months after all of the hype and excitement, I finally sat down and watched Undertale while doing my work. And you know, I kind of understand the hype. So much of the game tried to do something unique while being incredibly brave to stay true to its vision, and the event of this indie game opening with a Kickstarter set at a $5,000 goal and becoming huge is very inspiring. Toby Fox might have had some pull for the project from the Homestuck community, which he composed a lot of music for, but the overwhelming success of Undertale is still remarkable. And you know what the most incredible part is? I've learned that Undertale was actually built with Game Maker, which anyone can really learn without programming knowledge, and it only costs about $80 for the professional version. It's incredible to think that anyone could pick up Game Maker and create something just as powerful. It's awesome to realize. I think there's a lot of room for truly inventive and inspiring indie games that explore even more new territory than Undertale did. I'm hoping to see some coming soon, and maybe even find a few on my own. Would you want to make an Inception-style ARG out of your own channel? Take reality and make a story out of it? Actually, no, and I am glad that you asked so that I could clarify something. Part of what makes Nightmind work is establishing that I'm here to talk about ARGs and web series, but won't muddy things up or become confusing by turning into one. You do not have to worry about Nightmind turning into its own ARG. That's not going to happen. As for everyone who has asked if I'd ever make one that is separate from the Nightmind channel, that is, if I did, you would never know it was mine. That's all I'm going to say on the matter. What is the easiest way to show you smaller channels that have potential or are really underrated? Just recommend them to me. Let me know about them. I save every lead I get. But I do have one rule. If you have anything to do with making what you've recommended to me, you have to do it anonymously or have someone else do it. Make it very hard for me to figure out you had part in its creation. It's just another way of keeping things clean, fair, and objective. And please, please, do not post in the comment section for any of my videos or on the channel in character as someone from your ARG. It's not nice, guys. And it's not very tactful. I appreciate the effort, but it's something that's being a little bit too abused. What steps should amateur creators take in order to pursue their project or career? Self-education, as soon as possible. Everything that I've learned how to do, I taught myself. Just getting into learning how to do what you're after as soon as possible is the best way to begin. Learn all you can. Make a plan for what you're going to build, and create it. Time is extremely valuable, and if you can make progress now, go do it. How long does it take to make a video? A single video that has a length of about 20 to 30 minutes or more and involves video clips and images can take at least 16 hours to produce. Yup, at least 16 hours. There's research time, scripting, recording, video production to take into account. Each stage of a video can take a while depending on its complexity. Videos that involve a lot of media to dig through, like This House Has People in It and the Wyoming incident, can legitimately take me several days to get through. It took me a full, dedicated week just to do This House Has People in It. What's your favorite kind of weather to have during a night in working? Do you enjoy listening to the rain? Absolutely. One of my favorite aspects of the warm season are the nights. The only thing that compares to a warm night is an autumn night when it comes to the feeling. Hearing a rainstorm is also wonderful, but it really needs to be a continuous downpour. If it's not something I can hear, I don't want it raining. Just a drizzle or some gray clouds are a tease. What's the greatest internet horror story or series in your opinion, and what's your favorite? There's something I love about every series I've covered, and my experiences surrounding each one has been special for their own reasons. I can't really choose one. Maybe we'll get into why each one is great at what it does later on when we discuss how web series and ARGs work. And that's really about it. Once again, I'd like to thank you guys sincerely for this incredible milestone. I'm so grateful for all the support, all of the kindness. I owe so much to you guys. Thank you, and thank you again. More videos to come soon, more content to explore, more new ground to cover, and more undiscovered talent to lift up and show to the world. As always, I'm Nick Nocturne, and I'll be seeing you again real soon. Thank you, and sleep tight.